ECI Class 1, the Principal Teachings of Buddhism. So let's just go ahead and get started. I'll wipe the sleep out of my eyes. So this is the first course of the series that Geshe Michael taught over 7 years. And he prepared this whole course series in order to train people to be skilled in passing on the Dharma to other people. So we're not only learning about content, but we're learning from him how to teach this content and what the most important parts, critical parts, they're all important, right? The most critical parts of the content of these books that he's selected are to share with people. And this particular course is interesting because, as we'll see in a minute, this is also a sort of essence pill, if you will. It's got everything in it. All of the teachings. I don't want to say condensed because they're all there if you look, but like just pressured into this little essence pill. It's all there. So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Utpala. I have been a nun in this tradition since 2000 and when was it? It was 2012, February 4th. I first became acquainted with the teachings of the Buddha in 1995 and became a Buddhist in 1995 and sort of have been like on a roller coaster since then, as if I wasn't on a roller coaster before. But practicing these teachings, and my life has changed dramatically since then. So anyway, I've been practicing and studying and doing retreat for a few decades now. And from my point of view, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to spend time with this stuff. Okay. So the way I teach is similar to the way that Geshe Michael taught this course, which is that I'm going to be sharing with you the Tibetan, and I don't want you to get nervous about that. I mean, if you are interested in learning Tibetan, then I'm super excited about that and want to support you in that. But also, it's just for me to help plant a seed in your mind that by hearing these words and seeing these words, it'll plant a seed for you to be interested at some point in the future if you're not already. And that's how it was with me. All my teachers like sprinkled the Tibetan language into the teachings. And so I've been hearing these words. I was hearing these words for 20 years before I started studying the language. So I'm going to share with you Tibetan. Also, I've sort of made it my mission to go in and find all the words that Geshe Michael shared, because if you look at the ACI materials, there's one page of Tibetan. I went through and pulled out all the words that he gave when he taught this class, and it's 5 pages in much smaller print. Of course, it takes me some time to find them because I'm still like learning how to spell and all that sort of thing. Okay, but anyway, just to tell you, I'm going to say Tibetan. I'm going to show you Tibetan. I'm going to ask you to repeat Tibetan, but you don't have to be nervous about it. Okay. You don't have to think, oh gosh, do I have to do my homework in Tibetan? No, you don't. So the reason I'm doing this, one more sort of organizational thing. The reason I'm starting to teach ACI Course 1 is that Geshe Michael late last year introduced the idea of the Asian Classics Institute having 5 houses, similar to what you find at many, should I say, normal universities or colleges, higher educational institutions have houses where you specialize in a particular field of study. So he's going to get into these 5 houses more in April at Diamond Mountain. But one thing he has said is that to become a member of any house, you have to take 5 ACI courses. So the same 5 courses will be in the tool belts of anyone who joins any of the 5 ACI houses. So this course 1, is the first of 5, and I'm going to be teaching all 5 of them this year, so that if you haven't had the opportunity to take them, you can take them with me. I see many other ACI teachers are also teaching courses, so hopefully it will be very, very accessible to you if you are interested to join a house, that you can meet these requirements. Okay. So in general, if you haven't taken an ACI course before, we have readings. Well, we have classes where I'll be going over the content. Then there are readings, which are very, very important to do. Sometimes they can be tough, but I think with this book, this book is so inspiring, and it's so important, and it has so much in it. But I think it's written in a way that's very accessible. I think you'll enjoy the readings a lot. Then there's homework, which is what Geshe Michael has identified as like, these are the really important things you should get from this class. And then there's a quiz. So after you do your homework, you can find the answer keys online. I'm pretty sure I'm not telling a fib there, that you can find on the ACI portal, the answer key. But please don't look at the answer key until you have done your homework. So do your homework so that you do the thinking part. Because it's important that we go through this material multiple times. It's not about like getting an A. It's not about that at all. It's about understanding this material and getting our minds very familiar with the material. So after you've done the homework, then you can check the answer key. Then you can correct your homework. And then you can take a quiz. Then after we've done this 10 times, then there will be a final examination. So the quizzes take a subset of questions from the homework, and then the final takes a subset of questions from all the quizzes for the 10 classes. So you do all that, you submit your homework on and your quizzes and your final to the portal, and then you are identified as someone who's passed the course, and then you can pass it on to others. The homeworks also include some memorization and some meditation. Meditations are not long, so you don't have to worry that you're adding too much onto your daily meditation schedule. But it is good to spend time not only thinking about this stuff, hopefully you can find people to talk with about it as well, and then to meditate on it. Okay. There we go. I am not sure. The readings for this course are from a book that has been published, and I don't know where my copy is. I should have had it at the ready. Oh, there it is. It's from this little book, The Principal Teachings of Buddhism. And this is very recently republished. Geshe Michael went through and edited from when it was first published decades ago. So whether you're using, I mean, you could look at the ACI reading for this course, and then if you have the book, find that section for that class, the reading for that class, and read it out of the newly published book. So you get the latest language. You won't get, if you're a woman, you won't get tripped up by the use of, giving primary attention to men all the time. So, and like that, it's not heavy duty differences, but more the cultural differences. Okay, so this book this is a commentary on a piece written by Jason Kappa. And let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Hey, thank you. I'm also trying to figure out how to open chat just in case anyone does chat. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Jason Kappa, this is his name in Tibetan. Say J. Tsongkhapa. J. Tsongkhapa. The Tsong, sorry, I'm trying to move things around on my screen. I'm sort of like a technical, I'm not a technical savant. I'm more like a technical idiot. Okay, J. Tsongkhapa, his name, the Tsongkha, that's a particular region in Tibet called Tsongkha. The Pa part indicates that it's a person from that region, Tsongkhapa. It's the guy from Songkha. And J means Lord. It's impolite in especially in Tibetan Buddhism, but I think you find this throughout many different cultures, especially in the East, where it's considered impolite to call your teacher by their first name, or to even fail to use an honorific. Like if you see many people call Michael Roach Geshe Michael, because Geshe is an honorific title, as we'll learn today. But so even though the cover of the book just says Tsongkhapa, that's sort of like us unruly Westerners, where we're a bit rude and crass, and so we just call him Tsongkhapa. That's the way Westerners do it, but Easterners have, it seems to me, a bit more manners. So when he, so this was just to show you that, like a person from Lhasa, which is another city in Tibet, is called Lhasapa, just the person from Tibet. Now, when he was ordained as a monk in the Buddhist tradition, he was given the name Losang Drakpa. And this happens when you get ordained, you get a new name. When you take refuge in Buddhism, you get a new name. When you take the Bodhisattva vow, sometimes you get a new name. When you take the Tantric vows, you get a new name. They're very into giving you new names, which is, I think it's a way to help reinforce that we are not our name. Like I used to be Betsy Gorton, and then I became Betts Gorton, and then I became Betts Greer, and then I've just had many different names, and then I became Utpala when I got ordained, and it's just with all these different names, you just get less attached to, oh, I'm Betts, No, you could be Joe tomorrow, really, seriously, you could be Joe tomorrow. So what does this mean? The Losang, say Losang, it's his first name is comprised of two words. So Lo means mind, and Sang means pure. So Losang is pure mind. Tibetans are so poetic in their names. And then the second part of his name is Drakpa, which means famous. So the one with the pure mind who's famous. So in the book, in your reading, you'll learn about Tsongkhapa's life. His dates are 1357 to 1419. He was an amazing scholar of his time, and he resurrected Buddhism. Buddhism was starting to get very closely entwined with a more mystical religion in Tibet at the time called Bön. And he helped bring it back to its roots. of what was preserved in India. He founded many different monasteries. The three big ones are in Lhasa, Khandon, Jaipur, and Sera. And if you've probably heard Sera before, if you've taken any classes with Geshe Michael, as that is the lineage of his teachings. He went to Sera Monastery, as did his teacher. His students are, he had many different students. The two primary students were Gyaltsab and Kadrip. And if you've come to any of the Shuangsang Tower translation classes, you'll be familiar with those people. We've been translating some of their books as well as Geshe Michael's. But they were like the greatest scholars of their time, and they had heard about Geshe Michael and decided to bless him with their presence of attending his teachings. They thought very highly of themselves. And they thought they could challenge him, I think. But after just one teaching, it became very clear to him that Geshe Michael was a man who understood the teachings at a very deep, profound level, and that they could learn a lot from him. So Geshe Michael has he's written some 10,000 pages of Buddhist commentary. I mean, if you think about it, just reading 10,000 pages takes a heck of a long time. But imagine writing 10,000 pages. I can't imagine writing 10,000 pages of deep scholarly work. So it's really just incredible to me how prolific he was. He wrote what is considered by many to be the greatest book in the Tibetan canon of Buddhist literature, called the Lamrim Chenmo. Lam means path, Rim means steps, and Chenmo means great. This suffix of mo is a female suffix in the Tibetan language, and is often added as the ending of books on wisdom. So the Lamrim Chenmo is the essence of all the different schools of Buddhism. He took from all the teachings, he arranged the teachings from these different schools, and I mean philosophical schools, not Tibetan Buddhist schools, but philosophical schools like the detailists and the sutrists and mind only and middle way, both independent branch and consequence branch of the middle way. And he took teachings from all of these schools and arranged them in a way that a person could approach studying Buddhist philosophy and progressing along a path to reach the highest goal, which is total and full enlightenment. So by doing this, it's a book that can really liberate you because it has all the teachings contained within it. Studying just pieces, like studying detail school or studying sutra school, or even just studying consequence branch of the middle way school, studying just karma or studying just compassion or studying just emptiness. Those alone can't get you to full enlightenment. It's all of them together. So this book, the Lamrim Chenmo, is quite long in detail. In English, it takes up 3 volumes of books that are about that thick each. It was finally translated within my lifetime into English, which was a real blessing. He wrote, excuse me, he wrote the book that we're studying now, or about to study, called Lamso Namsum. Say Lam, So, Nam, Sum. Lamso, Namsum. Lamso Namsum. So Lam, I haven't figured out. There's a chat. Does anyone remember what Lam is? Lam is path. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Everyone joins in. Great. Lam is path. So the new word for us here is so, which means principle or main. So for those of you who are familiar with Buddhism, who is the Tso of the Shakya clan? Who's the main person of the Shakya clan in ancient India? Shakyamuni, Buddha. So he's the Tso. So Lam Tso together means principal path. Principal path. Nam means type. And I'll do these instead. Sum means 3. So the 3 principal paths, Lamso Namsum, just to explain this, the way I've presented the Tibetan here, this is Tibetan script. This is what we call transliteration. This is transliterating the language from Tibetan script to Roman characters. This is the form we use in the Chuang-Tsung's Tower classes. And then this is the pronunciation using a sort of, I don't know, I guess you'd say using a sort of American approach or Western approach to pronouncing those letters. Okay, so the Lamrim Chenmo, as long as it is, like 1,000 pages, was condensing like all the Buddhist teachings into this one book of 1,000 pages. He took that book and condensed it down into what's called the Lamrim Dring, and Dring means middle, so it's a medium size. It's a couple hundred pages. So it's on the same topic as the Lamrim Chenmo, Stages of the Path, but it's his middle version. Then he wrote the Lamrim Duden, which is only about 10 pages. And those of you who have been to Xuanzang's Tower will be familiar with that book, but not by that name so much. It's also known as Je Rinpoche Nam Gyur, which means Song of My Spiritual Life. So this is the book we recently finished. Gibson recently finished translating this book, and it will be coming out very soon as an ebook. So then even that at 10 pages was kind of long. So he wrote Lamso Namsum, which is what we're going to study, which even though this is a book with some depth, there's there's more than one page. This is a commentary on a 14-verse poem, I guess you'd say. But in these 14 verses, he condensed all of the Lamrim, all of Buddhism, all of the Lamrim Chenmo, the Lamrim Dring, the Lamrim Duden, Lamrim Dring. It's all condensed into Lamso Namsum. So one way of dividing the teachings, and this is on your homework, is that the teachings, that there are different scopes of practitioners. So by scope, I mean practitioners have different motivations with studying and practicing Buddhism. And there are three. I should say three. There's lesser, medium, and greater. So the lesser motivation, and it doesn't mean lesser in the sense of, oh, it's not so good, but just size, small, medium, and large. So the small motivation, the small scope, is when you yourself are practicing in order to have a better rebirth in your next life. So you are interested in no longer being faced with having to be born as an animal or as a hungry ghost or in the hell realms. The medium scope is people who study Buddhism in order to get out of suffering themselves, out of the circle of suffering. No more, I've had enough. May this be the last life where I have to deal with suffering. And that's the medium scope. The greater scope is, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one who's suffering. Everyone is suffering. That's just totally unacceptable. I want everyone to get out of suffering. So my practice is about everyone getting out of suffering. And that's the greater scope. So the teachings in the Lam Rim text are organized by these three scopes. Each is a foundation for the next. So there's not it's not like the lesser is not important. It's very important. The teachings that belong are shared in common with people who have an interest in not being born in the lower realms. Okay. So it is said that if you study Lamso Namsum, which we're about to do, you can reach Buddhahood on the basis of those 14 verses. You can become fully enlightened being, helping all beings on every place there are beings. And who said this? Tsongkhapa said this. So you don't have to study for 30 years. Although it's very fun to do that. So I think you should go ahead if you can. And Geshe Michael says, now you don't even have to study just 7 years with the 7-year ACI course. And you don't have to do all 5, even though he wants you to do 5 courses to be in an ACI house. You could just do this course and reach enlightenment. But I do see so many familiar faces. So I know a lot of you at least are not new to these teachings, and you know this, but Buddhism is not like studying arithmetic. It's not like you learn what numbers are and how they work together. Buddhism is different. You study things over and over. You repeat learning certain topics, certain books, and with each time you hear the teachings, it can be deeper in your mind. You can hear things in a new way as well. Hear things on a second, third, 100th, 1000th time, and hear something you've never heard before. And I can say, because I know a lot of you have been studying, that karma has a lot to do with that, right? When we have what we understand out of a teaching is what we have created the possibility of understanding. We created the opportunity to have that understanding. So the more we plant seeds for understanding, the more understanding we will have in the future. The more we practice ethics and morality, the more we share wisdom with others, the more this wisdom gets shared with us, the deeper we understand, the more realizations we have. And that's how it goes. And so we do study over and over. We do study for decades. Okay. So lam, path, I don't know about in your language, but in Tibetan as well as in English, a path can be like a physical thing. Like you take a path to go through a forest so that you can climb a mountain, right? So it's a physical thing, a path through the woods. But that's not the meaning of path that is being used here when we talk about the three principal paths. It's not a book about three different ways to get to Buddhahood. It's something different. And it means tokpa. Say tokpa. Tokpa. This is a very important word. And those of you who are interested in Tibetan, you see that there's a little sa here at the end, which makes this word very different from tokpa without the sa, which just means, some thinking. Tokpa with the sa means realization. So we're talking about three realizations. Jumping ahead to course 4, and I think some of you are taking this with Tim, maybe. Which is about logic. If we take all existing things and divide them into two groups, what are the two groups, do you think? Feel free to write in the chat. Changing and unchanging. Great. Changing and unchanging. We can say that if something is an existing thing, it either changes moment by moment or it doesn't change. So changing things are easy, right? A pen, changing. Unchanging things are relatively rare. There's only a few unchanging things. Existing things that do not change moment by moment. Oh, first, going back to this, this changing thing, is this physical or mental or neither physical nor mental? That's how we divide. Yes, great. Thank you. Physical things. That's how we divide changing things. They can be divided into physical things, mental things, or neither physical nor mental. So when we talk about tokpa or realization, which of those three would you categorize tokpa into? Any ideas? So Margie says mental. So when we categorize things into physical, mental, and neither physical nor mental, the mental part, I'll use this as my two. The mental part is about things that are conscious and aware. So that would be mind. So would you like to change your answer, Margie? Take another stab at it. And the choices were physical, mental, or neither physical nor mental. Neither, right. So Tokpa is neither uh, physical nor mental. And that could include things like realizations. It could include things like concepts, like love. It could include things like democracy, or just anything that's a concept and doesn't have a manifest presence, a physical body, and is not something that is conscious or aware. An unchanging thing, an example, the sort of easy example of an unchanging thing is space. And we're not talking about outer space, like what we see behind Ina's head and her background, or Grace's head. Many of you have that same background of the planet in space. Space as an idea of like I am occupying a space, and this space is not a physical thing. It's not a mental thing. It's not a consciousness. It is the absence of obstruction. No one else is sitting in this chair, in this space. And that's why I can occupy this space. And even when I am occupying this space, even when I'm sitting in this chair, the space is still there. That absence of obstruction that allows me to be there is still there. And that's an unchanging thing. So when I get up out of this chair, while I'm sitting in this chair, that space was there. If the planet disintegrates, the space is still there. So a realization, a tokpa, is not physical, clearly. It's not mental, because it doesn't it's not aware. Actually, it is. Hold on. I went sideways on that. So it's not a concept, actually. It's not one of those that is neither physical nor mental. It is a state of mind. A realization is a state of mind. So a lam, a path, because it's a tokpa, a realization, is a state of mind. So now, when you think about the title of the book, the three principal paths, you can be looking for, what are the three principal states of mind that when I have them, I will be a fully enlightened being. So, what are the three states of mind? Say, Menjun. Menjun. Please say it, even though you don't have your mics on. You can hear yourself saying it, which plants a seed or a bakchak in your mind for the language. So please say Nyen Jung. Nyen Jung. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. So you will hear this over and over, Nyenjung, Nyenjung, and that's planting seeds in your mind. And the Tibetan language is so important because so much of the Buddhist teachings are contained in its language. And if we were to lose this language, we would be losing a lot of the teaching. And even though this 14-verse poem, and is possible for us to study and reach full enlightenment, it would certainly be wonderful to be able to read all the other teachings that have been made and written over, these 2,000 years. So, Nyenjung is the first path. It's the first state of mind. And Nyenjung means renunciation. We can call this disgust with this life. We are going to study it further. We're going to explore it. Is everything in our life pain? Is everything suffering? So when the Buddha first taught, he taught about the four Arya truths, the truth of suffering, the truth of the causes of suffering, the truth of the end of suffering, and the truth of the way to reach the end of suffering. And so suffering is understanding suffering it's a main part of the Buddhist path. Having a realization that to renounce suffering is very crucial. It's in the first part of the three scopes, and it's foundational, and we will get into that. I mean, does it mean giving everything up? Does it mean you have to become ordained? Does it mean you have to give away everything you own and move to a cave on a mountaintop? Is that what renunciation is? It is understood by some as being that. And we will learn what Tsongkhapa and what the Buddha said about what renunciation is. What does it mean to renounce that which brings suffering? The second of the three principal paths is said in many different ways. I've got a bunch of them listed here, and I will figure out with the tech people how to get this document to you. But say Jung Sem. Jung Sem. Jung is a shortcut for Jangchup, which means Buddhahood. So we've got Buddhahood, Sem, and Sem means mind or state of mind. The Sanskrit word for this is bodhicitta. Bodhicitta. So, given that we've that Jangchup is Buddhahood and Sem is mind, is bodhicitta the mind of a Buddha? What do you think? I see a couple of heads shaking no. Okay, we're not fooled by this. You are savvy students. This is not your first time with these teachings. I now see. Okay. So a bodhisattva has bodhicitta. A Buddha, an awakened being, has bodhicitta, but so does a bodhisattva have bodhicitta. That's the first path or stage of a bodhisattva's status as a bodhisattva, is when they see the nature of reality, emptiness, directly under the influence of bodhicitta. So we'll learn about what bodhicitta means. The way that you'll hear it used a lot, the words used to describe bodhicitta a lot in the Tibetan language is semkye. Semkye. And you'll find that this is the word that's on your answer key for the question, what is the second path of the three principal paths? The answer key is looking for semkye. And semkye is an abbreviation of Jangchup Kisempa Semkyepa. Jangchup Kisemkyepa. And I slip like that because sometimes you do see Chang Shu Ki Sem or Chang Shu Ki Sem Ke. You'll see it presented many different ways. But as we learned above this, Changshu, that's Buddhahood, and Ki just means of, and the Sem is mind, and Kepa is is born or is arisen. So Jiangshu Ki Sen Kepa. That's the full one. But just remember Semke. That's easy, Semke. And then the third one is Yang Dakpe Tawa. Say Yang Dakpe Tawa.
Yang Dakpe,
Yang Dakpe
Yang Dakpe,
Tawa.
Dakpe,
Great. And Yang Dakpa,
Yang Dakpa,
that means correct or accurate. And Tawa means view, viewpoint. So this is the third of the three attitudes or states of mind, paths, realizations for becoming enlightened. Yang Dakbe Tawa, correct view. So in my country right now, it's the beginning of what we call tax season. And so we have to go through all our records and fill out forms and tell the government how much money we made. And then we pay a tax related to how much money we made. And actually, I was talking with my brother yesterday. We got this form. My father passed away last year, and he had a life insurance policy, which was divided amongst us children. And we got a form from that insurance company that said, here's how much you got, and here's how much we sent the government already as tax. So here's, and that form we have to add to our other forms and send it in, at tax time. And I got the form, and it told me a number that was different from the amount of money on the check that they sent me. It was smaller. So I called him up and said, I think you need to give me a new form. And they explained to me after they did some research that, oh no, that number is just the amount that the policy was worth the day your father died. And that extra amount we sent you was the interest that accrued on that amount in the time between when he died and when we cashed out his policy. I know you didn't want to take a finance class, but just trust me. So anyway, the thing that I want to point out is that the form they sent had a smaller number than what they sent me, the actual money that was put into my bank account. And she said, oh, you just have to put that down as interest. And it's not enough for us to send you another form. You just do that. I'm like, okay, great. So being the good sister that I am, I talked with my brothers and said, hey, you're going to see when you get this form, from the insurance company, it's going to be less than what you actually got. And here's what to do. And one of my brothers says, oh, yay, I get to pay less taxes because the form is smaller. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You still have to pay tax on it because it's interest. He goes, no form doesn't exist. I'm going with a lesser amount. So he and I have very different ideas. We have different tawas. We have different worldviews about what's going on. Is it possible that I could ever receive a good result from not only lying to the government about how much money I received, but cheating the government, which in my country means every other of 350 million people, I'm stealing from them because I didn't give my share of the taxes that support our country. Could that ever happen with the laws of karma? No, it couldn't. And my poor brother, even though I tried, is going to receive some sort of a negative financial event in the future, because not only does he not tell the government, but he's really happy about it. He owns it, man. I am not paying my full share. So those are two very different hours, very different viewpoints, very different understandings about how the world works. So Yang Dak Tawa, correct view, correct worldview says, by not lying, by not stealing, by paying my share, I will receive some benefit, some financial benefit in the future. Right? Money doesn't come from stealing it, and money doesn't come from hoarding it. Money comes from giving it away. Yay, I get to give more away, is my attitude, instead of yay, I don't have to pay so much. Okay. Geshe Michael at this point told this story about when he was a student in India, and he was at a train station with one of his fellow students, and they noticed, like, off to the side, that there was this, that people were running towards this monk, and they're like, oh, who's that? And someone said, oh, that's Ling Rinpoche, who is a very high teacher, actually the senior tutor to the Dalai Lama. And so they decided to run over and meet him. And so they did get up close enough to talk with him, and they gave him some little offering, like they had some snack in their pocket that they were able to offer him. And Ling Rinpoche is like, well, where are you? Oh, I'm from America. Oh, I'm from England. His friend was from England. And he's like, wow, what are you doing here? Oh, we're studying Buddhism over at the uh, Tibetan, what is it called? The Tibetan Library of Works and Tibetan. Anyway, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, the Tibetan library had a series of classes going on. He goes, oh, well, what book are you studying? And they looked at each other and were like, they couldn't remember the name of the book. They were studying at the time Chunjuk, which is the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life by Master Shantideva. So their teacher, who was teaching them that book, just happened to be standing right behind Ling Rinpoche and was going, chung, 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 like trying to tell them, you're studying Chunjuk, but he couldn't say it out loud. And they're like, and they all had a good laugh because, of course, Ling Rinpoche knew what was happening right behind his back. So don't embarrass your teachers. At least remember what it is you're studying. And so what's the name of the book you're studying? Can anyone tell me? I know, it was like 10 minutes ago. In English, in your language, in Tibetan. Yay, Margie. Yay, Karine. Yay. Bong. Yay, Trin. Okay, great. Okay, you guys got it. It's Lamso Namsum. 3 principal paths. So now we'll talk about, why is this book longer than 14 verses, right? If Lamso Namsum is only 14 verses, why are there so many pages in this book? So you're going to find in this book that there's this really wonderful foreword, which I highly suggest you spend time with. It's really beautiful. And that is written by Ken Rinpoche, Lobsang Tarchen, Ken Rinpoche Lobsang Tarchen, who was Geshe Michael's teacher. And then after that, then comes a commentary in which the 14 verses are interspersed. And this commentary was written by Pabonka Rinpoche, who came from Sera Monastery as well, one of those major monasteries in Lhasa that Geshe Michael went to as well, and Ken Rinpoche went to. Pabonka Rinpoche also went there. Now, Pabonka Rinpoche, his dates are 1941 to 1878. And he was not a particularly, let's say, accomplished student at Sera Monastery. The monasteries are, I guess, very similar to institutes of higher education where everyone is trying to get a degree, and they're trying to get the degree with the highest status associated with it. So there are 4 different levels of a Geshe degree, which is like the equivalent to a master's degree or maybe even a PhD. So the highest level, which Ken Rinpoche attained, actually, is Harampa. And there are very few people who reach that high level every year. The next level down is Sokrampa. Then the third level down is Dorampa. And the lowest level, which most people get, is Lingse. And it just means that, not just, but the higher level of Geshe degree you have, the more debates you go to, and you eventually end up debating. If you have a Harampa, you're debating like the best scholars from other monasteries. And if you're a Lingse, you're debating your fellow classmates, that you've been studying with for decades. You're not really like sharp enough to debate the highest debaters, although we could get into a little debate about that. But we won't, because there's not enough time. So Pabonka Rinpoche was a Lingse Geshe. After he graduated, he started like teaching around town and teaching small groups of lay people who weren't ordained. So he's sharing what he learned in his decades of study at the monastery. And suddenly he became very, very popular. And it wasn't long before like tens of thousands of people would gather in a big wide area to hear him speak. And he was a big man, so I guess he had a very powerful voice, because they didn't have the kind of technical equipment we have in order to project a voice to a large group of people. His ability, his particular skill was in sharing the teachings in a way that ordinary people could understand and put into practice. Not approaching it with scholarly language, or I'm just about to lose my voice. He could break difficult concepts down using ordinary language. So it's like when Geshe Michael, if you've ever gone to Xuanzang's Tower, which I bet a lot of you have, it's like when Geshe Michael says, when we translate, we should translate in such a way that it passes the waiter test, where if we were to talk about this with a waiter at a restaurant, they would understand what we're talking about. We don't make it so difficult. So Pabonka Rinpoche, you wouldn't say he wrote this commentary. It's like he taught this commentary. And then later it was written down by someone who attended his teachings. Pabonka Rinpoche did produce some amazing teachers, like Trijang Rinpoche, as an example. I don't have his name here, but he became a tutor to the 14th Dalai Lama. And Trijang Rinpoche was born in 1901 and passed away in 1981. So he and another student of Pabonka Rinpoche's named Losang Dorje made sure to write down what their teacher Pabonka Rinpoche had taught. So that's why we have access to these teachings, since there were no recordings. One of the things that Trishang Rinpoche wrote down was liberation in the palm of our hands, which is Pabonka Rinpoche's teaching of the Lamrim Chemo, Jason Kappa's gradual steps to the path to enlightenment. So I have to go quickly through because I told too many stories. So his name, Pabonka Rinpoche, that's his ordination name. And then his secret name, his tantric name, is Dechen Nyingpo. Dechen, I haven't talked a lot in a long time, so sorry. I'll try and do better next time. So Dechen means great bliss. De is bliss. And oops, I'm going over here. Chen is great. We had that one before. And then Ningpo means essence. So his tantric name is the essence of great bliss. And then there's the person who asked Jason Kappa to write this poem. So, and his name was Ngawon Drakpa Sako Unpo. And so Ngawon Drakpa was a student of Jason Kappa's, and he was the one who, when Jason Kappa said, I need someone to build 100 monasteries. Anyone interested? Ngawon Drakpa said, yes, I'll do it. And so he went out and founded 100 monasteries for Jason Kappa. So he wrote Jason Kappa and said, it would be really nice if you could write a little poem that I could teach to these sort of crazy Easterners that you sent me out here to build these monasteries, but there's like all these people who are, they're not as smart as your normal waiter. I need something a little easier that I can share with them. So he's the one who made the request, and Jason Kappa wrote the 14 verses for him. Tsako means it's a line of kings, actually, from Eastern Tibet. And Umpo means monk. You're going to see this, I think, in the answer key is Wangpo, but that's not how you pronounce it. So please don't continue that. It's Umpo. Umpo. Okay. So what you get to memorize for next time is one of the opening prayers, which maybe you have already memorized, but I've included it here. And it's also in your ACI reading. So the Kamdro Semke, if you can memorize the pronunciation and then also the English translation. And I know we're only meeting in 2 days, so you don't have to memorize it in 48 hours, but really it shouldn't take very long. So you can try. I don't want to discourage you from trying. So I think that I need to say, one more thing that's on your homework is about how to approach the teachings. And there's something called the 3 problems of the pot. So these are three ways that students should not approach a teaching. And they use the metaphor of a faulty pot. So don't be like a pot with the lid closed. I should have said this at the beginning, right? So don't be like a pot with the lid closed, otherwise nothing can come in. Don't be like a pot that you used a week ago but haven't cleaned. Don't be like a dirty pot. Because then what you do take in will get all polluted by what was in there before. And then don't be like a pot with a hole in the bottom. Because even if you're nice and clean, and even if you have your lid open, things are going to come in and come right out. So don't be like a pot with a hole in the bottom. So please do a review, do your readings. If you can get together with people and talk about your homeworks after you've tried them independently, and to do your meditation, which is written on the homework page. And I thank you for your interest in this course. These teachings are so precious, and it's a very precious opportunity for me to be able to share them with you. So I thank you for that. And thank you to the tech team for making it all possible for us to meet from all over the world. Thank you to the translators who are translating. I will try to speak more slowly next time, I think. And thank you to Zoom for giving us this link to be together. And thank you, of course, to Geshe Michael Roach, without whom none of this would be possible. So have a great couple of days, and I'll see you on Friday. What is Friday for me, and some other day for you, maybe. I love you guys.
Dear teacher, can I ask a quick question?
Okay, we've got a minute.
Yes, a quick one. Can you just kindly clarify if Tokpa being a realization, a state of mind, is mental or neither physical nor mental?
Right. It is mental. It's a state of mind.
Thank you.
A realization about something, like if you were to say, I love this book. Like I started reading this book and I love it. That's my realization about this book. That is neither physical nor mental. It's like an opinion, neither physical nor mental. I hope that helps.
Okay, so that means that Tokpa is a mental, whereas the opinion, the thought, is neither mental nor physical. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. We've reached the magic hour. Dedicate our time together towards realizing these things in our minds. And I'll see you next time. Oh, one more thing I was supposed to say. I'm so sorry. For ACI, thank you, ACI, for sponsoring these teachings. And they are actually looking for people who would be interested to volunteer with them. There are some tasks that wouldn't take a whole lot of your time or a whole lot of expertise, but they just need some help with some volunteer opportunities. And volunteering with an organization that's spreading the Dharma is like, I don't know, it's almost like free money, because you get to support them, and what you're doing through supporting them is you're spreading Dharma around the world to just thousands of people. And that is really great opportunity. I hope some of you are able to take them up on that opportunity. Okay, see you next time.